Hi guys, welcome back. We've got another video that we're doing here. Today we're at Habitech. We've got Charles here. I'll let Charles do an intro of himself. So Charles, without further ado, please tell us a bit about what you guys do at Habitech. And just to add, guys, Habitech are the guys as it relates to AV. If you want to do anything, as it relates to audio, visual, you need to speak to these guys. And we've been through a lot of their training courses over the past couple of years now. And are really in a position now to really do high-end and pretty much any level of AV. So Charles, without further ado, please just interject here and tell us a bit about you and what Habitech does.
Sure. Okay. Cool. Well, firstly, thank you very much for the very kind words you said there about Habitech.
I wasn't kind.
So Habitech are a value-added distributor of AV equipment, typically to a residential space, so people like yourselves. We do have a corporate side to the business as well, but primarily we're a residential distributor of AV equipment. Now, AV equipment is a very broad term, as you know, so we cover everything and specialise in home cinema, but we cover everything from CCTV. We have a really comprehensive network offering, because as you know, networks are more important than ever at the moment in our smart homes. We're adding more and more devices onto our networks, and if your network's not up to scratch, these devices aren't going to function. And quite often people are very quick to blame the devices we're putting onto the network, but actually it's the network that's letting the device down, as opposed to us installing poor quality hardware. Okay. So really what we try and do for people like yourselves, we offer comprehensive training courses. What we have at Habitech are brand managers within each category. So for example,
so how do you work out what brand managers to work with? So what makes you decide between one or two brands, for example, in the same space?
We rely very heavily on the knowledge we have within the business. So for example, our cinema offering, Craig Wheeler, he is the cinema guy.
Craig just knows his stuff, right? Like Craig is so we had a client who came in here once who said, listen, I've got no intention of buying anything here, but he just came because we forced him to, because he had so many thoughts about what he wanted. Yeah. We brought him here. Craig had to go at him for a couple of minutes, and he sat down playing with music for about an hour. So
he was absolutely adamant he didn't want to come down.
Exactly.
It was one of those beautiful moments where he's like, I don't want anything here because this is not what I want. Yeah. We're like, okay. So we didn't talk money, didn't talk anything. We just brought him through the showroom, just said, look, this is what we do, this is where we specialise. And as you said, he sat in the Wisdom Cinema for about an hour, didn't he? Just playing all sorts of music, some really obscure, sort of almost like 20s swing dance music. And he just fell in love with it, didn't he? He went from categorically, I do not want to buy anything here, to I love those, I need those in my life. But
that's the thing, and the one thing that you hit on there is I think like one of the things we haven't really touched on yet is, well, when you bring a client here, for example, to the Habitech showrooms, is you take them on a journey, right? And it's an experience almost, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. No, generally, in our experience, we find end users don't really care too much about the brands that are going in. That's why they're coming to you, right? When, especially in home cinema,
would you say that end users don't care about the brands, or?
No, I think they do to a point, but a lot of the brands that we as Habitech sell and you as an installer use typically aren't available from a retail space, right? Okay. So, for example, some of the solutions that are in this room right now, the acoustic treatment from Cinematech, it's really vitally important to acoustically treat a room before we even talk about speakers that are in the room. And most people just don't know.
Completely ignore that. It's true.
They don't know about it, and that's why we have these demonstration facilities here, because people can come in and experience it and go, and the more technically observant people will notice straight away, as soon as they come through that door, the whole sound in the room changes.
It's true.
And then they go, well, why? What's in here? What's going on? Why have we got fabric on the walls? I've not seen that before. And then we can go in and we explain why we've done what we've done. There's an exact science to what we do when it comes to home cinema. People think it's a bit of a dark art, and or the alternative is it's not a dark art, and actually I don't need any acoustic treatment, so I'm just going to put in some expensive kit and I'm expecting it to perform really well. Whereas actually, you need to start from scratch and plan the room properly.
So how can you explain, again, bear in mind, like this video is geared at end users who may not have an appreciation for what for what you do or what we even do just yet.
Sure.
So how can we bring together how we can take into account the aesthetics of a room, which will be hugely important to, say, an architect or an interior designer,
Sure.
And how we take into account how the room needs to function, i.e. as a cinema room or as a multi-use room. You know, some people have like a living room and they'll convert into a cinema or whatever,
Yeah.
and vice versa, like a gym that they might convert into like into a cinema space.
Sure.
So how can you just elaborate, just very briefly, and touch on how we can have, let's just say, an aesthetically pleasing room that is acoustically treated and has the right kit to perform as intended in one or multiple scenarios?
So, Cinematech are a US-based firm. They're based in Texas. They are the guys when it comes to cinema design and acoustic treatment for rooms.
Okay.
Going back to what we were saying earlier about trying to work with the sort of industry leaders within each category, that's where Cinematech are for us.
Okay.
So, where I think our downfall as an industry has been prior to what we're doing now with Cinematech is we're all very technical people, right? And we can sit here all day and talk about speakers and amps and everything that goes in, but our customers are coming for a cinema experience.
Yes.
Right? That's what they want when they come to you. They want a cinema experience. They want it to be good and they need it to sound really good, but they're more focused on that experience rather than the kit list of what's going in the room, right? Typically, not everybody, but generally we find that. So what we have done with Cinematech is they are the experts on the aesthetic design. Now, they can make, and hopefully you can see this behind me, they have made this room look amazing. Before this room was in place, our room next door was designed by our MD and sales manager, Jonathan and Timmy, and it was actually Timmy's wife who came in one day and said, "You guys are idiots, you're never going to sell this." And we were like, "What? Why?" And she said, "Because I don't want this room in my house. No one is going to want this room in their house," because we'd gone on a, right or wrongly, maybe wrongly in Tanya's eyes, was we've gone down a really functional room, right? We want it to perform incredibly well, but the room, the aesthetics, the touchy-feely stuff that people like to explore, that's
like these cushions, for example.
Yeah, Sophie's cushions that we've got behind us, is what they get excited about, right?
It's just true.
So in here, for example, just you tell me, what technology can you see in here right now?
Well, in honesty, you can't see anything apart from all our fancy lights from our film crew here. You can't see anything apart from a few lovely, well-lit shelves here, etc. But again, there's no tech, as you say. Apart from an iPad on the wall,
iPad on the wall.
But again, that's an option, right?
That is an option, and it's also an aesthetic option as well, because you can see, that's not a big bulky case on the wall either. It's
true, very
it's
true.
Designed there to sit there and technology blend into the space.
It's true.
So, going back to what you were...
And just to add as well, even if there's an iPad on the wall, for example, which we don't always do, it's designed in such a way that when the iPad changes, because they do, you can tweak it. So that's quite important to know.
Yeah, absolutely. We always try and plan ahead and give an upgrade path, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But going back to your original question of, how do we make these rooms look really nice but still perform really well? And that is just really good planning.
Okay.
So where we would start would be we would look at the dimensions of the room. We find out what level of experience does the customer want to go to, because typically home cinema is considered, a luxury, right? It's not a necessity, but the people that come here want that experience.
Yeah.
And what we need to do is, because we can cater for every budget possible, we can go from what we would, what is generally considered as a cheaper option, all the way up to £1 million cinema and beyond. It's not a problem. We have solutions for every sector of the market, but it's just deciding what the customer wants and to what level they want to go to.
So without going too detailed, right? The idea here is just to give a quick overview.
Sure.
So for example, you've got a way, for example, to tweak a room, make it look beautiful as well. I imagine, again, like we haven't touched on it like a Dirac, but we'll probably touch on that maybe a bit later on. But again, so irrespective basically of the room, whether it was a room full of glass where you get reflections all over the place, you can do certain things to treat that room, essentially what we're saying. And we take that into account at the design stage, so before it's happened in an ideal scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. It's think of it like building a house. If you just turn up to site one day with a load of materials and start hammering things together, it's probably not going to go very well, right? There needs to be a plan in set in stone. Well, not there needs to be a plan in place for that project to work effectively, right? And it's the same thing with home cinema.
Now, just to jump in here, so we're talking a lot about home cinema, but that's not, from my perspective, it seems like that's all we've been talking about today, but that's not all you guys do.
No.
You know, so that is a focus, but again, like we've got lovely things you do with the whole garden series and the audio, right? So, so
it's because we're sat in a cinema, right?
so we're sat in a cinema, but essentially the offering here goes far beyond cinemas, from external audio, to what, networking, to cinemas, to your general audio surround sound, to displays, to the cameras, so pretty much anything.
Okay, so maybe let me expand on that a bit more there. So we, as a distributor, cover almost every aspect of your project, from the cable to the networking, the robust networking we're talking about. On the infrastructure side, things like fibre, it's really important. It's, people consider fibre the future. The truth of the matter is fibre's already here. People should be using it now. There's technologies that are in place today that allow you to take full advantage of that fibre, and for many years to come, because it's just so much more advanced than what we're doing with normal copper.
And it's true, that's something that we've even learned on current projects, where we've priced to do things the traditional way, using Cat6 all over the place, and we worked out it was cheaper to do a fibre solution. Because the fibre was more expensive in itself, but the equipment you could use now, instead of needing, for example, a certain matrix that costs much more, we can get a cheaper matrix, right? And just use it with fibre, almost as if you had a very short run of cable.
And then you're also not making any compromise there, because if you're using an HDMI matrix, you've got unaffected HDMI signal.
True.
Wherever you want in the property.
It's true.
No problems at all.
And again, you're ready for things like 8K, which isn't here yet content-wise. But
so there's things like that, fibre, cable infrastructure. We have distributed audio offerings. So if you want music throughout the house, and there's a really nice solution from Sonance through their architectural series. So typically when people talk about multi-room audio, or they say, I want to have some music in my kitchen, most people assume that because they want music in their kitchen, they need to have a big speaker in the ceiling, or a couple of pairs of big speakers in their ceiling. Now, you and I know now that actually there's a different approach to that. So that question that we ask, and normally we get strange looks for, is how do you want your audio to look? Right? It's a bit of a weird question, right? So we can take technology and we can blend it into the space. So
love that.
We have exactly, yeah.
Love
so
that.
People generally will spend a fortune on these really minimalist, especially at the moment, very minimalist, modern, sleek lines in their kitchens, big living spaces, and then they put an 8-inch speaker, sort of the size of a dinner plate, on the ceiling. Yeah, it doesn't look very nice. Some people call it ceiling acne. It's not a particularly nice thing.
We get a lot from architects.
Exactly,
they hate it.
Exactly. So what we can do is, by changing our approach on how we put audio in that space, so we can make speakers, for example, match the size and shape of your downlights. So if what are quite popular at the moment, square, flush, in-ceiling downlights, we can have a speaker that's the same size, square, inline, nice ceiling grid, nice clean lines.
Yeah, no, you're right. So again, but that's the thing. Anything's possible, guys. We're going to tie up now, and let's see you on the next one.